Colleges, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 5 minutes after 11 o'clock, when we first met Rabbi Yossi Hecht, we didn't know how to say his name. And he looked like a little boy back then. Now he looks like a rabbi. And his little girl is grown up. Matti, how you doing? How you guys doing? You both look so good. It's Passover. Passover. Did I say everything right?
Passover, that's right.
How are you? You look good.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, as usual. It's always good to be here.
Yeah.
Especially before the holidays.
When does Passover start? Tomorrow?
Tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, yeah? And what do you do? What's the traditions of Passover?
Matti?
Eat matzah.
You eat matzah?
Yeah.
Do seder.
I like when you do the hand thing. That's your dad. You got that from your father, didn't you? Your father talks with his hands, right? Right?
So and the Seder night, which is the evening of Passover, there's a few things that are very important. Number one is to eat matzah, which the best of the matzah is to have handmade shmura matzah, which is specially guarded to make sure that it doesn't rise, because we don't eat anything that's leavened, anything that rises. We also have 4 cups of wine during the Seder, and we also eat bitter herbs, which for most people it would be horseradish, and each of those is to remind us of the freedom as well as the slavery from Egypt.
Is there a religious reason for the unrisen bread? What do you call it? Unleavened bread. Is there a religious reason for that?
Well, as we see in the Bible, that the Jewish people, when they left Egypt,
They did not have enough time to make their bread rise.
Oh, they didn't have enough time.
Oh. Yeah.
But now we got
left.
plenty of time. So why can't we let it rise now?
So, we can be like they did, I guess.
Does Panera sell the unleavened bread? No. Do you ever go and ask? Do you have any unleavened bread?
This is unleavened bread.
What is?
Matzah.
No, matzah, I know, but I mean, does Panera sell it?
I don't know.
You don't know? You don't know?
I don't go there.
Oh, you don't go there? Okay. So what did you bring in? I thought it was a board game. That's actually bread in there?
It's sort of board. It's like cardboard bread.
Does it taste good? Matti, does it taste good?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Uh-huh.
What do you put on it? Cheese?
She likes it with cream cheese.
It depends.
Right?
It looks like it would be
Sometimes
good.
it's good with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically a cracker. It's just just water and flour. That's it. It's the only ingredients. But the taste changes based on what the balance of the water and flour that you put in.
No salt?
Nothing.
Just flour and
Really? Have you
water.
ever made it? Just with the basic ingredients?
We actually had a matzah bakery once, right? Remember that? We had a matzah bakery, and there's a guy came and he taught everyone how to make matzah. It was a lot of fun. We'll do it again sometime.
Nice.
Do you, as a rabbi, ever get called to bless things? It's a multiple choice question, I think, right?
All the time. Actually, someone once asked me if I could come bless their horse.
Mm-hmm.
Really? And did you?
And everything has a blessing. What's the fiddler on the roof, right? There's even a blessing for the czar that God should keep him far away.
Yes.
But what is the blessing? I mean, is it when you say something? Does it?
In Judaism, everything has a blessing. You wake up in the morning, you bless God, you thank God that you're alive and that you have another day, right? That you woke up. If you wash your hands and you bless God that God gave you the opportunity to cleanse yourself. You thank God that there's a rooster that can wake you up in the morning.
You have a rooster?
Thank God that you can. We're living out in the country now. We could
Do you
hear
have
them.
a rooster?
No, we don't have a rooster.
Oh, you don't have a rooster.
But we have an alarm clock. It's a new rooster.
All right. So when you are doing Passover, is Passover itself a blessing?
Of course, the whole Passover is a blessing, and Passover comes together with many blessings.
A lot of them.
I have to hang out with you more because I want to be able to say, of course, to everything. Of course. Of course. That's like, who was the actor that always did that, Robin? The guy, Judy. Who was that guy?
Oh, Cary Grant.
Of course, right?
It's all about turning it in the right way.
Yeah.
And then everything works out, right?
Oh, I like that, yeah. How's your wife?
She's doing good, thank
You
God.
she just had a baby. You
She
guys
just had a baby. So
how many children now?
That's our sixth.
6.
Wow.
You have a beautiful family.
Do you have a station wagon?
She doesn't know what a station wagon is.
Yeah. No, that's old.
You had it.
Yeah, we had station wagons growing up.
Do you celebrate a Passover with an entire group of people on the first evening, or is it just
Yes.
each individual family?
Yes. We have a big Seder.
We have people constantly calling, and we have to unfortunately turn some people away because we're filled to capacity right now, which is close to 100 people.
Oh my gosh. And that's right at your Chabad Lubavitch Jewish Center?
That's right.
I didn't introduce you properly. I always figure everybody knows who you are. So, Rabbi,
They probably do. Who doesn't? Right?
Who
That's
doesn't?
right,
Who
exactly.
doesn't? Of course.
Everybody knows
Who
you.
doesn't? You got to talk with your hands too. All right, Rabbi Yossi Hecht is here from the Chabad Lubavitch Jewish Center. Matti, did you know your father taught me how to say Chabad?
No.
He's my teacher.
She does now.
Rabbi is my teacher. He's everybody's teacher. You teach everybody. Do you ever get tired of it? Do you ever get tired of people asking you questions? Would you rather talk about something else ever? I don't mean here, because the radio show obviously is going to focus on one thing. But
You always have the best questions.
compared to who?
It's better to have a good question than a good answer.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Who put the bop in the bop shabop to bop?
Well, I said a good question.
A good question. Oh, that's a good. Well, that's a good question. I never knew the answer to that one.
How long does Passover last?
8 days.
She can do the show herself.
Yes, you could.
And what do you do in each of the days following the initial Passover day?
Well, we have two initial days, so that would be Friday night, and then Saturday is day one, because our day begins at nighttime, and then Saturday night and Sunday would be day 2. We have 2 seders, both on Friday night and Saturday night, and then we also have we have what we call intermediate days, which is still part of the holiday, but not to the same extent. And then the holiday concludes with another 2 days at the end of the holiday, which is on Friday and Saturday, and that's when the first 2 days we celebrate the Exodus from Egypt. The 7th day we celebrate the splitting of the sea, which was exactly a week later after the Exodus from Egypt. And then the last day of Passover, which is going to be next Saturday, is when we celebrate the upcoming redemption, which we yearn and hope for every day. We hope that we'll have the ultimate redemption, when there will be ultimate peace in the world, and all Jews will go back to Israel, and the world will be overall a better place for all. And so we hope for that on the last day of Passover, and we even make a
big
celebration and a meal as well.
So you want to move to Israel?
Well, we believe that there will come a time that we'll all go to Israel. And,
Everybody? Wow, it's gonna be crowded.
well, the entire world will be elevated.
Oh, the whole world will be
and
Israel.
to be a holier place.
Oh, okay. So Florida will be part of Israel. On top of the world. Isn't it on top of the
It
world?
sort of is already, right?
Yeah?
And if you go to South Florida, you feel like you're in Israel in some places, right?
Oh, the Bronx.
Well, and Miami Beach.
Oh, Williamsburg. Did you hear about the Williamsburg measles outbreak?
Yeah,
That's where you hang out, right? In Williamsburg?
We're close by. Crown Heights, yeah.
Right.
It's close to Williamsburg. Yeah, it's unfortunate that some people don't do what's best for their children and for everyone else.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that's a comment on the vaccination issue, right?
Yeah.
Do people ask you about that? Do new parents ask you your thoughts on that?
Some people
On
ask,
vaccinations?
and that's the answer. I mean, my children get vaccinated, and I think it's important. I think that we have to stay healthy. People don't realize that there are sometimes some kids that, some measles for some may not be such a big deal, but for others who have a big illness, it could be dangerous and even even worse than that.
They could die.
Yeah.
They could die.
Do you drive on Saturday?
No.
No.
No. You don't drive on Saturday. What's the explanation? Why don't you? Is that all Jewish people or just rabbis?
No, there's 39 commandments. It says in the Bible you're not supposed to work on Saturday, right?
Right.
And so what's the definition of work? So there's 39 different types of work. And then anything that is similar to those is also forbidden. So in this case, it says, do not light a fire on the Sabbath. And
Oh, really?
yeah, you do not light a fire. So driving a car is essentially turning on the ignition, and you're essentially lighting a fire.
Oh,
that
really?
way.
So what about a horse-drawn carriage? Can you do that?
Right. So there's other laws too.
Oh, okay. Uber? Can you take an Uber?
Over
No.
generally, it's about trying to find peace in your home, and when you're traveling around, you lose that. You don't have the beauty of the Sabbath when you're constantly driving around and seeing everything else around you. Try it for one time. Stay at home, go off your phones, and
I would love to.
and be just with family.
No, you're right. I
Shut
would love to
everything
do
off
that.
and see how that is. Once a week. on
No, I
Sabbath.
think you're right. I think I'm going to be Jewish, Robin, just to stay home.
Okay.
So
So
do
new
you?
circumcision too.
Are you?
I'm
Okay,
done. I'm
move
done.
on.
I got that.
Oh, okay.
I got that taken care of.
Okay.
I was born in Mount Sinai
Oh,
Hospital.
you know.
My father's a doctor at Mount Sinai Hospital
Oh, really?
in Chicago. Yeah.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Well, this is the one, in Manhattan on
Gosh.
100th. I think it's.
Yeah.
It's actually called Spanish Harlem. So I'm actually born in Spanish Harlem.
I think that's wonderful that you really advocate, that everybody should advocate for family, and you are such an inspiration for that, because sometimes people forget and take family for granted.
Well, unfortunately, they don't see it until later on in life, and by then, for some people, it's too late. It's something that you have to appreciate when you're young and still able to bring about that family. Everything is a blessing. Every child is a blessing, and when you see everything
Absolutely.
in life as a blessing, then
Yeah.
you have a different perspective.
Well, see, now going back to the blessing thing, this is what I want to know. Like, I feel like knowing you is a blessing. But that doesn't mean I'm saying something other than, when somebody asks you to bless a horse, the
Right.
horse is already blessed, isn't he?
Well, there's two things. There's seeing something as a blessing, and when you express it in words, then it brings it out more within yourself, and you feel it more. So, yeah, you could just know that it's a blessing, but when you're actually saying it and blessing God for what you have, it's more real to you, right? When you speak about it, it
More real
becomes
to you.
something that's more meaningful.
I mean, I get it, and I don't know if I get it actually, but when for example, if I'm in the Vatican and I sneeze, the Pope says, "Bless you." I go, "Wow, I just got blessed by the Pope," right? But what does it actually mean other than I'm blessed? But I was already blessed, wasn't I?
Yes, but there's also bringing it out. It's like you can have. If you're thankful to someone for doing something, you could just think to yourself, well, thank God for him, or you can go and say, thank you so much. I appreciate the fact that you helped me out, that you that you walked my grandmother across the street. You can thank them for it, or you can just think to yourself, yeah, I'm thankful, but that doesn't really get out the message.
See, Robin,
unless you actually go and say it.
Robin's a grandma, so one day her grandson is going to say, "Thank you for walking my grandma across the street."
That's right. I love the fact that you, Rabbi Hecht, include all of our community in all of your celebrations and your events and holidays. You are a blessing that way to us, because otherwise we wouldn't know about a lot of things, and you are a good role model.
As they say in the trade, I'm just doing my job.
In the train.
What kind
Is
of
there a rabbis union?
what kind of celebration do you have at the very end on the last day?
So we have something called the Feast of Redemption, and that's towards the very end of Passover. We also have matzah and wine, and we celebrate the miracles that the prophets tell us are going to happen in the time of the ultimate coming of redemption, such as the lion will lie with the lamb and some of the other famous prophecies. And we look forward to that time. That we should not only talk about it, but experience it a little bit.
I hope it happens. I hope you're right. I mean, can you imagine what will the locksmith do for a living? You don't need locks anymore, right?
I hope not.
Hopefully he'll find another job. It's like, what are taxi drivers doing with Uber, right?
Yeah.
Well, that is interesting. Well, what about the lion and the lamb? Is that lamb going to be comfortable right away? He's going to say, are you sure? No, he's going to be scared. He's going to say, are you sure this is all taken care of now? What's the lion going to eat?
She's thinking about it.
Yeah.
Well, I think he'll still trust because it happened.
God will just say to the lamb, "It's okay now. We got this covered, right?"
And this is also a metaphor for the enemies.
Right. It's a metaphor for all the nations, that all the nations will live together. And when you have two nations that are enemies between one another, like you say,
it seems it's the stupidest thing.
They'll live in peace.
Don't you look at the world and think the world is stupid, right? You ever think that?
The world is stupid?
Yeah, I mean, people fight. Why do people go to war? That's a stupid thing.
Yeah, that is a stupid thing.
Yeah, that is. So why does the world do that? I bet you most soldiers don't actually want to fight, right? They just sucked into it because they're told to.
There's all kinds of fights on different levels. You have a fight that's in a more global scale, and then you have fights that's also in a personal. You know, think about people who are in fights with their families over little petty things, over a couple $1,000s here and there, right? And they won't talk to their family for the rest of their lives.
Has that happened to you?
And everything is ultimately about ego.
It is. I agree.
It's about ego, and part of what we.
So how do you let go?
Well, part of what we believe in a time of redemption is that we'll see what the ultimate existence is really about, and being that there's going to be a revelation of God at that point, we'll see that God is the ultimate existence, and our ego is not really there.
That's right, absolutely right. Yeah, I think I adhere to that. I think you do. That's what I mean. A lot of people do, but there's a lot of people who don't. Does somebody owe you $1,000?
Well, it's like this. It's if
That's
you
a yes.
have.
That's a yes. Somebody owes you $1,000.
I love the fact. I love the fact that you have the gathering of the rabbis every year. I look forward to the videos that you post.
I got to get a hat if I'm going to go to that thing.
And then it also, but it also includes the activities for the children. And that's really special to me to see that when you post everything.
It's very important to include children in everything and to make them part of our education and everything that goes on. You know, it's interesting. 2 days ago was the birthday of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Schneerson, who was our mentor and the founder of, not the founder, but the leader of the Chabad movement, which is now over 4,000 centers throughout the world.
Wow.
He told people to go around the world and be and make people more connected.
Right, like where does Ephraim go?
China.
In China, right?
Where's what?
China. You know, we have relatives who go visit the Chabad in China. I have a brother.
Really?
I have a brother in Mexico, in France, all over the world. But one of the things that he encouraged was every year on his birthday, he wanted for a birthday present, sort of.
Torah mitzvahs.
Right. That he established something called Education Day. And,
I remember that.
Right, Education Day, and that's every single president since President Carter, every single year established Education Day on his birthday. And many cities and states are also make Education Day on this day. And actually, last year, Mayor Kent Gwynn here in Ocala, he also made a proclamation for Education Day. So it's something that he always encouraged, that we have to take a day and say, this is where we're going to focus on education and trying to strengthen education. Whatever type of education it is, but for a good cause, to try and make that something significant.
Nice. So how could we improve education in general with let's say the schools in our area? What could we do better? Any thoughts on that? Do your children go to public school?
No.
No.
We
My
go
kids-
to a private Jewish school in
Yeah, where?
Orlando.
Yeah.
My parents are great parents. They drive us all the way to Orlando
But not on
to go to a
Saturday.
Jewish school.
So I'll tell you one
Wonderful.
thing. I'll tell you one thing that I think would make a very big difference, and that's also something that he used to advocate, and that is a moment of silence. A moment of silence, which in many schools used to do, some still do,
Yeah,
but
yeah, they
others
don't-
stop. And that is when you begin the day by allowing a child to meditate for a minute or for however long it is, and say, go and think about something greater than you. Think about your purpose. Think about why you're here. What you're doing on this earth for. And it really doesn't matter what religion, or even if you're not religious at all. It doesn't matter if you're a Christian or a Muslim or if you're Jewish or Hindu or an atheist. The point is that you're allowing the child to take a moment to reflect on what life's purpose is and where he comes from. Obviously, if he's a religious child, he should think of a higher God that's looking over him, that's looking for him to be successful and to do good and to have a meaningful life. But in general, just the fact of allowing a child to meditate on his purpose and what he's all about, that makes a big difference. And this is something that a lot of public schools had. Some still do have, but unfortunately there's a lot of people that are fighting it because, they claim it's a separation of church and state or whatever. But it's really not about that. It's really about just allowing the child, whatever they believe, to focus on that. And also, when that child comes home, they turn to their parents and say, "Hey, we have a moment of silence, and my teacher says I need to meditate on something. What should I think about?" Mm-hmm. And
Nice.
that gives the parents the opportunity to say, "Wait, I need to give my child something meaningful to think about. What should I tell him?" or
Oh,
her?
wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah.
So that's, if I would say there's one thing to try and focus on, it would be that.
That's awesome. That was an awesome answer.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. Put that in bold letters when we print that one up. That was,
Well, I've talked to some of the superintendents of the school here
And?
in Marion County.
I'm sure she agrees with you.
I don't know if she implemented it. My kids don't go to the schools here,
Uh-huh. I don't know either, but she's super nice.
but I did actually bring it up.
That's really wonderful that you have this communication open up between yourself and the mayor and the superintendent of schools and things, because that's the only way that we can all get along, is to have communication and be able to express our own viewpoints about things and come with a happy to terms.
Well, the mayor's also a good friend. Personally, he came to my son's circumcision party, which we had as bris, and just to a lot of family personal events. So he's a good friend.
He is. He's a very nice man.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming in. Happy Passover.
Thank you.
Enjoy
you.
Enjoy your unleavened bread
Yes, we will.
and your
hopefully.
wine. Wait, she can't drink
I don't-
wine, right? She doesn't drink. Did you drink
Grape
wine?
juice.
Did you-
Grape juice.
Grape juice? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Rabbi, for being our friend, and Matti, thank you for coming in.
Welcome.
And congratulations on your new baby again. That's just such a blessing.
And I want to say, if there's anyone out there who needs a handmade shmura matzah, that we have some available, please let us know. ourchabad.org/Passover 2019. That's ourchabad.org/Passover 2019. And you can find all the information for Passover.
Very good. All right, thank you. We will take a break. Be right back. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA Ocala.